Hey, what's going on? My name is Ishmel Sahid, star of My Adventures with Superman, aka Jimmy Olson, and you are listening to the biggest podcast in the world, Traversing the Stars podcast.
Hi, Mr. Sahid. Thank you so much for coming to the Stars podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
So my pleasure. I'm a big fan of My Adventures with Superman, so thank you for coming on the show.
Awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad you are one of the many people who have been watching it. So,
Yeah. Well, indeed, like I said, we got a second season, so that's fantastic. We always appreciate it. So I always start a question of inspiration. So inspire your love for acting and who your earliest influences.
ooh, some of my earliest influences when it came to acting was Will Smith. I remember watching like Fresh Prince as a kid and just being enamored by Will's character, and I always wanted like just be not an actor, just be like funny and like live a life like that. Uh Martin Lawrence, I enjoyed watching the Martin show as a kid as well too. And believe it or not, like I always wanted to be like Bart Simpson as a kid. You know, like it was just something about that character that made me want to just engulf his entire life. So yeah, off top, those are the three people and cartoon characters that I wanted to be like. But when it comes to acting, I was always influenced by like Jamie Foxx, Denzel. I really love Ryan Reynolds. I mean, there's like a plethora of actors, but those were like the main actors where I really liked their style and kind of just wanted to like do my version of that, so to speak.
Mm.
So yeah.
So since you mentioned Bart Simpson, have you ever told someone then to eat your shorts?
Uh, no, but I did tell my dad, don't have a cow, man.
Oh no, what happened?
I can't remember. Like, I don't think he understood the reference. So
Oh, okay.
he just super weird. Like, okay, still go wash these dishes. So.
That's awesome. So for the fans, you're now the voice of Jimmy Olson in My Adventures with Superman on Max. So how did you get involved with the project, and how was Jimmy Olson described to you upon earning the role?
Yeah, so I mean, like I got introduced to the project just through like my managers and agents. They sent me the audition, and believe it or not, that was like my first like voice acting job. So I was quite surprised when I got it, as well as super elated when I got it as well too. It was a brief blurb about who the character was, and you know, I didn't really watch. Well, I watched Superman the animated series as a kid.
Hmm.
I was a huge fan of the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and things like that. So I kind of like I knew who the character was, but obviously through like the whole course of DC and like the different variations of Jimmy and Superman or just all those characters, there's everybody has their own variation of like how they see
Hmm.
the character. So I just really like, when I did the audition, I just did it how I would see the character. Obviously, my voice is very deep and these characters are very young. So I definitely had to like pitch my voice up. I just remember just pitching my voice up, like doing different variations of it in my car because I think we were still in quarantine when we did this. So yeah, everything was riding on this role. Uh, no, but yeah, Jimmy. And to answer your second question, Jimmy is like a fun-loving guy who was
Hmm.
all about friendship. He puts his friends first, and he expects it to be reciprocated in terms of just like how his friends treat him. He's a guy who loves his job. Conspiracy theories. That's what I was thinking of. He loves conspiracy theories. Yeah, he's just a go-getter. He's somebody who just puts his friends first, and he's the life of the party, and he's also the third wheel in this
Hmm.
crazy love triangle that's going on between Clark and Lois.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's also somebody who just has a lot of emotion, even though he's like super high energy and super fun, like he feels a lot, and yeah, it was just fun playing like a character who encompasses like all these different emotions. And yeah, it was super dope. It was super dope being able to do this project. So yeah.
Now, I've been a comic book nerd for a very long time. God, it's over 30 years now. And my memory of Jimmy Olsen is that he's usually portrayed first is that he is tighter with Lois and he meets Clark when he moves to Metropolis. The other way that usually is also portrayed is that he's a hero worshiper of Superman.
Hmm.
My Adventures of Superman has it different. Jimmy Olsen and Clark were friends first, and they're not. He's not a hero worshiper of Superman. He's the friend of Superman and Clark.
Hmm.
So, which is a significant difference in his character. So, when you thought about Jimmy Olsen, how was he described to you, and how did you kind of play that the difference that the fact that he isn't the oh my god, it's Superman. I'm your I'm your guy, I'm your friend instead of he's now an equal with Superman for a friend in a friend social way.
Yeah, I think he's a friend to Clark. I think the fact that Clark is Superman comes second. You know, it's not like he uses Clark's because Clark is Superman, he uses it to his advantage. Obviously, you know, when they go on adventures and things like that, you know, it's they go on their little tangents and things like that. But yeah, he's definitely a friend first when it comes to Clark and the whole Superman thing. He's quite he's kind of jaded by it because like if you watch the first episode, he already knew that Clark was Superman, so he was just waiting for Clark to kind of come out the closet, if you will, tell him that he's a superhero. And you know, he accepts his friends, you know, how they are. You know,
Hmm.
he doesn't get like starry eyed when he finds out Clark is Superman. He's also, like you said, a friend to Lois too, and you know there isn't like they're not like in competition with each other, especially when it comes to their job. Like they actually work in tangent. You know, they go on their own side adventures and quests while Clark is off fighting villains as Superman, and then obviously they come together as a duo or a trio, I should say. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool because it's like he treats everybody as equals.
Hmm.
You know, nobody is nobody's bigger than the program, so to speak, you know. So
Well, one thing though you did say though, and it became true, is that after, like I said, he was Clark's friend first.
mhm.
However, after Clark and Lois became a thing, he does become the third wheel.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, how does Jimmy Olsen feel about being the third? I'm sure like a lot of guys, when their friend gets a girlfriend, you automatically find yourself being that third wheel. How does he feel about that situation, and how do you think he's doing handling it?
Yeah, I mean, at first he wanted Clark to like tell Lois how he felt about her. Like he wanted them to be an item. But I think obviously as things kind of progressed in their relationship, he kind of felt left out, you know, especially when it came to just being included in certain things, or sometimes they would forget certain things that Jimmy deemed important, and that kind of, you know, made him kind of feel bad. I think he still rolls with the punches. And you know, he takes it in. He takes it. But it there are certain points where like he kind of just expresses how he feels, and you know, he's all for them, you know, dating and being an item. But you know, I think him being Clark's friend first,
Mm.
you he kind of just feels like obviously left out of everything. So yeah, it's a with anything, like when you're the third wheel, at first it's kind of cool, but then you're like, huh, this kind of sucks. But you know, in season two, you know, he's Jimmy may find his person, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Is this coming? Because like I said, I know. Let's see. Saturday is when the new episode drops. It's episode three. Are we talking something that's happening episode three, or something that's a little further down the line?
I don't know. Let's just say the devil's in the detail. And if you looked at the flyers for season two, you can kind of guess what I'm talking about, you know.
Well, here's another question I have about this now. Because see, I'm going to push you a little bit. Welcome to Deflect. In episode two of season two, his conspiracy, like I guess his website or blog, Flamebird, gets some help through the Daily Planet. Perry comes up with a bunch of people to help him out. Various people, different personalities. Is his match from that group, or is it from somewhere else?
No, it's let's just say it's his match is from somewhere out of this world.
Oh, I get the feeling that this person may wear a cape.
I don't know. I don't know what aliens look like, you know. People come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. So we
So,
just have,
so it'd be a giant green blob potentially that he's falling for.
listen, love is love. If it were, I would hope that the fans would accept it. You know, if it wasn't, then I would also hope that the fans would accept that as well
Hmm.
too. So,
Well, well, that's the other thing about Jimmy Olsen. Once again, we mentioned Flamebird, the conspiracy site. He
yeah.
has in his back pocket some massive conspiracy news that he could be dropping right now. Superman and Supergirl coming up shortly, who may or may not be the interest you're talking about. How? What does it say about him that he's this diehard guy, this website that he loves, and yet the biggest secret in the entire world, he has it in a lockdown. No one's gonna find out about it.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show like his loyalty to Superman and Clark, and it's interesting because it's like with most conspiracy theories, like you can't really prove it, you
Yeah,
know. That's like that's the lure of like trying to get people on board, and you have all this information that you're either pulling up from the sky or you're deep diving into said history. But here it's right in his face. So I think even subconsciously, I'm like making stuff up subconsciously. Like, okay, well, Superman's real, but like it's not that fun to like it's right here. You know what I mean?
hmm.
So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think it just falls down to like his loyalty, and I don't think he's that type of person to kind of spill the beans, even though he knows like the truth behind who Clark is. Um, yeah, yeah.
Now pushing back a little bit more. You're welcome to deflect this because I know for what you hinted. Feel free to deflect. Um, we all have egos in our lives, right? We all have ego. We all kind of want to be in the spotlight.
Mhm.
Jimmy Olsen has kind of supplanted his need for the spotlight for Superman because he's a friend, doesn't say anything. Now, this other person they're going to bump into, which is Supergirl, how easy is it going to be him to do it a second time, the second person, and make sure and realize he's not again going to be he's gonna be overshadowed by somebody else that he's close to.
No, I don't think he is going to be overshadowed. I think everybody in season two plays their part. They play their role, and I think everybody is very intricate to each other's lives, whether it's fighting supervillains or trying to get the scoop at the Daily Planet. I kind of liken it to like the A-Team. Like everybody is very different and intricate to the entire group. Well, I mean, even though Mr. T kind of did overshadow everybody, but like everybody was like out, everybody stood out in their own way. So I kind of liken it to that. No, I don't. He won't be overshadowed. He's the comedy relief. You can't. How can you overshadow that?
Right, right. Well, so one of the things that happened in season two is that Superman and Lois they rescue General Lane from the clutches of Amanda Waller, and General Lane's like, "You guys are kind of screwed. Don't do that. What are you guys doing?" So, how ready is Jimmy Olsen for Amanda Waller and what's coming?
Jimmy's 10 toes down. Jimmy is ready for whatever comes his way. But also, it's like in his back pocket. I think he knows he has Superman, and it's one of those things where Superman has always come in the clutch. So I think again, like that, he always has that in the back of his mind. Like even if it does come down to it, we're always going to triumph because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we're a team. Jimmy, Lois, and Superman. So he's ready. He's ready.
So, as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, he has the Flamebird is now not just him; is now a group. And he's going to find himself in the position either enviable or unenviable of being the leader of this very ragtag looking group of I guess they're coworkers now or employees. I'm not sure exactly how they're phrased. How does Jimmy Olsen feel about being now technically the leader of a group?
Good. I think in his original group setting with him and Lois and Clark, he's not the leader. Although oftentimes he is the voice of reason sometimes, I think this lights a fire up his ass, to kind of like lead a team, and they kind of like look up to him, in other situations he kind of looks up to Superman and Clark and Lois as well too. um Jimmy knows what he's talking about. He may be a little bit eccentric, but like he has his head on straight. He's not leading them into like, you know, dark uh alleys. You know what I mean? Um, but again, the ragtag group of people that he's around. They also have their opinions, and they will set him straight as well too. Whenever he does, kind of like get them into a sticky situation. So
Well, see, that's a question of now of responsibility that Jimmy Olsen now has because before being the only one who runs Flamebird, and when it's talking about keeping the secret of Superman and the conspiracy theories,
mhm.
he made that decision. Now he has a team of people who are also trying to look up stuff that maybe are looking up stuff that maybe he doesn't want them to look up to because he already knows the answer and he doesn't want them to get involved.
Yeah.
How difficult is it him to balance being a friend to being a proper leader of this other Flamebird group who may or may not go the direction he wants them to go and looking up stuff?
Well, you know what? That's the many problems of being a CEO. You have to delegate, and you have to trust your employees. Because that's what you're paying them for. I think in the I think in the realm of this, I don't think. I mean, there could be a possibility where somebody is like, Clark Kent looks a lot like Superman, but I don't think the writers have written a scenario where that could possibly happen. You would think it would. You would think somebody would be like, "Huh, you guys do look alike." But even if that were the case, I'm sure he'd come up with like some excuse to be like, "No, you just need to get laser eye surgery. You're not seeing things straight. But I think, but everything that goes on in Metropolis, like they have their hands full with like a lot of things. So I doubt that that is something that would happen.
Hmm.
So that would actually be kind of like funny to see that happen. Somebody kind of like going on their own private eye investigation to unearth who Superman was. But I feel like in season one, that's what Lois was trying to do anyway. You
Hmm.
know, so I feel like that would, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think I think you do a fantastic job with Jimmy Olsen, and I think you walked an interesting line because he is such an upbeat character
Mhm.
where there could be a potential of going too far and making him too but you do got to keep him grounded. So we're thinking about this character who is eccentric, who is the comic relief. How do you make sure the line with his voice and interacting is good to keep him right at that line where he's funny and comical and he's a cartoon, but not so much that he's cartoony to the point where it doesn't work anymore?
Yeah, I think that was one of the trickiest things about it, is voicing Jimmy. Like I said before, I went in there and I was just trying different inflections of my voice because obviously, as you can hear, my voice is super deep in comparison to Jimmy. So I was just trying to kind of find the pocket of that and just play around with it. And after you're saying the lines a few times, like you kind of figure it out. And then our directors and our writers, they were there when we were recording, and our producers as well too. And they're just telling me, okay, like we like this, like slow it down or say it faster. Because initially, what I was doing, I was saying all my lines super fast, just trying to get through it. Because I was like kind of the character that I had, this neurotic type of a character. But luckily, like they give us an opportunity to like when we're reading the lines, they're like, okay, read it 3 times, and then the fourth time, like just have a fun run. And so they pick and choose which I guess take that they want to use. Obviously, like if there's a certain line or word that we want to hit, like we'll do it over and over. But for the most part, they kind of gave me free range to kind of make it my own, so to
Hmm.
speak. If certain lines, if I couldn't like really say them the way, or if they weren't hitting the way that they wrote them, they were just like, yeah, just say it, how would you say it? And they kind of gave me that free range. But yeah, that it was definitely I wouldn't say a challenge, but it was definitely it was interesting. It was interesting coming up with this character, and I'm so glad that it kind of resonated because that was the one thing that I didn't want to do was kind of make Jimmy super cartoonish.
Yeah.
My whole thing was like, how can I make him young, and how can I make him fun?
Yeah.
And I was kind of just molding those two goals together, and came up with this beautiful person. So.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I was thinking 'cause when you think about Jimmy Olsen, because they also don't give a lot of backstory to Jimmy Olsen in the story,
Mhm.
that it just felt like it could have been very easy to make him not feel real. I'm saying like
Mhm.
he's so like weird and out there and goofy, they'd be like, I don't buy this as a person. But you're able,
Mhm.
you hold that line, you're like, and you feel like, yeah, he's eccentric and he's upbeat, but he feels like someone I could maybe have met somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like that over eager coworker. There's like, okay, I don't know why he's so upbeat, when he's on, but I buy that he's real, that kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's again. I think it's a test to the scenarios that they put him in. Like he's just a ball of emotions. Like he feels like when he feels when he feels like he's not acknowledged by his friends or forgotten. You it I you kind of feel that, even the way it's animated, even if there's no words, you can kind of like see just the distraught and like sadness. And when he's uh on, I don't know, like when he's trying to like crack the case of a new conspiracy theory, you can see the excitement in his voice. Or when
Mm.
he's trying to get the gang together to like do something cool, like you can also see that. So yeah, he's like that kid that I knew or know in high school or grade school who was just like super like energetic, but is also like one of those people who kind of just like you feel for as well too. So that you just want to invite over to the lunch table and you know share your lunchable with them.
So,
But not the good lunchable, the one that you don't want.
um,
Not the pizza one.
was there in early on when you're first preparing for the role, was there either a scene or a line of dialogue where when you said it or you did it, you felt, now I got it, now I understand the character?
Ooh, yes. I wish I can remember the specific line. I do. Huh, that's a good question. I don't know the specific line, but I knew there was a point where there's a scene in season one where Jimmy has this monologue, and I believe he's like I forgot what he's either talking to Lois or he's talking to Clark, and he's basically telling them like, hey, like we're a team, we need to stick together, like we're a family, that whole uh um trope. And while doing it, the producers and writers, they're like, okay, like everything else is fun and silly, but like give Jimmy heart, like this
Hmm.
is something that's like serious to him, and just really like give it heart. And when I did that, that automatically clicked to me like, oh, this is a real person who feels, you know what I mean? So I can't remember what episode that was though, but it was definitely that moment where I'm like, I think I kind of get this character. He's not just one dimensional in a sense. So
Now, um, some months back, I had an interview with Fred Tatasciore, who does The Incredible Hulk and a bunch of other characters, and he told me about a regimen he has to do with his voice because it's such a range, and the type of voice is different than his that his voice can easily be damaged. Now, as you're telling me, listening to your voice, you're telling me about the difference between your voice and Jimmy Olsen's. How difficult is it to maintain that level of, I don't know, not volume, what
uh,
is
it's
like,
not octave because that's lower.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
falsetto.
Falsetto, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
How hard is it to maintain that? But it's because it's definitely not your normal voice. Um,
No,
is
no.
it hard to maintain it? Is it something that, like, and what are you doing with your voice, your throat, so you're not feeling the pain the next day?
Yeah, it's not like when I'm in the booth and while we're recording, like I'll say it takes it takes a minute for me to like figure out the voice like when I'm recording because obviously I don't talk that way. So
Yeah.
it takes me like a couple of seconds to just test it out. Like, okay, this is what Jimmy sounds like. Or I'll tell the people in the booth, the engineers to be like, hey, can you just play back an episode so I can like hear how I sound? But once I'm in the pocket, like it's easy for me to maintain it. Like because like you're just saying you're saying the different lines
Mm.
over and over again, and you're going on to the next line to the next line. So you're kind of like in a groove, so to speak. Um, I will say every time I prepare, like when I'm driving to the studio, like I'll either sing aloud my favorite song in the car and have like a car karaoke just to like get my voice like warmed up, so to speak. Um, yeah, drink a lot of water as well too, just so my vocal cords are coated. But yeah, nothing very intricate. I'm not like sipping a chamomile tea and like refraining from talking to anybody for 24 hours, you know. That's nothing crazy. Yeah, I'm just, smoking a bunch of Marlboro lights, playing the harmonica. That's how I warm my voice up. No, no. Yeah, no, I will say like when I like the first day that I had to go in, I did like go on YouTube and I was listening to like a bunch of like YouTube vocal warm up videos to kind
Yeah.
of like get like to help me, so to speak. Yeah, yeah, but other than that, no, it's pretty easy to like maintain that voice. Yeah.
So on the show, Superman is voiced by Jack Quaid, Lois
Yes.
by Alice Lee. I know sometimes in some animations you voice together, some do it totally separate. When you guys are doing this, is it together or in separate instances?
So it's interesting because when we like I said when we were recording or when we first got it, this was like I think the tail end of quarantine. So I like things weren't back to normal at all, and because of that, like I'd be in the booth by myself, and the producers and writers and engineers. We're not the engineer. The engineer would be in the room, but the producers and writers they would be on Zoom, and so we would I would be recording with them while they're watching me on Zoom like recording. I didn't so me Jack and Alice we all recorded separately basically on different days, which boggled my mind because when you watch it you're just like how are you guys not in the same room? Like it
Right.
feels like in sync, but that's just how good we are. No, but yeah, we all recorded separately, and actually, like we never met until like we never met until we had a screening of the episode. I met Alice. Didn't meet Jack, and I met Jack at like a random party, like a year late, or yeah, like a year later or something like that. It was very interesting, and like I don't know. It's just we all we all like each other. Like we all get along. So it's interesting how like that was like one of the first times we ever met, and we never recorded with each other. So yeah, I don't think that may or may not be the case. Again, this was my first voiceover, so I really didn't know how it all went.
Hmm.
I'm thinking like everybody's like in the same room and it's kind of like
Yeah.
how they voice transformers and like you're talking to the screen, but in animation like 9 times out of 10 like when we did it like the animation wasn't even drawn yet,
Hmm.
so I literally had to use my imagination of like how Jimmy would be or how the scene would go. But yeah, like it was a cool experience. I definitely was like, animated. I would like flail my arms around just to like get in the character. I personally record standing up. Like it's hard for me to get in the character while I'm recording sitting down. You have the script in front of you, but I need to like stand up and like move around and just like get in it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's long story short, we recorded separately.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fantastic show. I love what they're doing. It definitely understands Superman better than the movies did recently. So I think that's fantastic. So, what can our listeners look forward to in the upcoming episodes of My Adventure with Superman, other than the love interest, which I'm feeling is has a cape, but maybe not. Go ahead.
You are smart. Uh, I mean, you can definitely look forward to villains that don't necessarily get a lot of shine in this world. You can definitely look forward to just the friendship um, being even stronger. You can definitely look for Lois and her dad's relationship getting more like they get closer together.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we recorded so long ago, so I'm trying to figure out like everything that's happening in the entire season, but definitely the villains. Um, what else? Yeah, look for that. Yeah, the villains. I'm excited about the villains. So
Mr. Ishmael, thank you so much for being so awesome.
thank you.
Come back anytime, especially to talk season three. Hopefully, My Adventures of Superman. Hopefully, there's somewhat of that happening. And
Yes,
anytime
yes.
you're able to talk, come right back.
Likewise, man. I had so much fun doing this. This was a blast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate this.
Really, my pleasure, sir. Have a great night.